Hi everyone. I break everything. I do that very well. So you're going to hear from some great experts today in mountain biking and in tourism and in promoting mountain biking. You're going to hear from some very intelligent people. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those. I'm just a simple mountain biker who likes to travel a lot. But why am I here? Who am I? I work for Dirt Magazine, as we were kindly introduced as being world famous. We basically distributed all around the world. It's one of the most popular mountain bike magazines, and we have a big online presence, which is growing. I specialise in travel features, so I get to go to a lot of the big destinations all around the world, mainly in Europe. And having been a guide, I've worked as a mountain bike guide before in some of the key locations in Europe, so in South Spain and in Finale in Italy, and in Morzine in the Alps, which are some of the biggest mountain bike locations. I've also worked with a big cross-section of the mountain biking market. I'm based in the UK, but like I said, I'm constantly travelling to the European destinations, so I'm seeing how they're developing and growing, and what's good and what's bad. This is purely from my opinion, like I say. Nothing scientific at all from this. But you'll hear from some experts, like I said, later, who will give you more scientific approach to everything. Basically, I wrote a couple of features about 2 years ago in Dirt Magazine, just describing how mountain biking is really changing, and how the sort of tourist mountain biker is now approaching their sport. So with the development of mountain bikes, as you've just heard, enduro is growing, which is a sort of a term that people are using for the competitive all-mountain riding, and that's developing the bikes, and that's opening a lot more destinations up for mountain biking. Mountain bikers generally as well, that's also changing everyone's view of how we approach mountain biking. People are looking for a big adventure, they're looking to go to sort of not necessarily remote destinations, but they're looking to go away from resort-based stuff a little bit as well. As I see it, there are two main types of destination now, which also cover the two main types of mountain biker. There's the gravity bike park, which are the kind of places that are built generally in old ski resorts, or ski resorts are looking to promote summer tourism. They're more for your downhill mountain bikers with a way of getting to the top via using the lifts. And then there's the all-mountain and enduro resort, which is basically, as I see it, the big part of mountain biking now, which is basically taking mountain biking out of the ski resorts and to places such as here. And that's more people pedaling around on old existing trails and exploring the area a lot more. What do I think mountain bikers like? Primarily, great trails, that's the big draw. Obviously, you have to have something there for them to go to. They like getting around and exploring the destination as well. Culture means local culture and also bike culture. There's kind of two different draws for mountain bikers. Local culture is coming and visiting amazing areas like this. We get to adventure a lot, and that's what brings us here. That's what we like. And then bike culture, as I said, is more like your resort place where you have a grouping of lots of mountain bikers. Everyone gets together. And we like that. We're a community. We're tight-knit. We like to see other mountain bikers as well. Good bike shops is like it sounds like such a basic thing, but you go to some of the biggest resorts and destinations in Europe and you can't get spares for your bike, and that puts people off, and getting completely ripped off as well, having to pay high prices for everything. Spares really puts people off. Bike-friendly attitude is one of the key things. The best places that I've been to in recent years and that I've enjoyed the most are those that have really embraced mountain biking, and local businesses welcome mountain bikers. They appreciate the money that the sport is bringing in. And some of the worst places that I've been to are also some of the biggest, and they bring in the most money. Some alpine resorts, for instance, but they're really hostile to mountain bikers, and they've been very fortunate previously because there have been very few destinations. So the money just keeps coming in. But now people are starting to get tired of that, and they're going further afield to places that are more welcoming. Transport up hills, so that means ski lifts, ski infrastructure. That's not so important anymore. People have really good mountain bikes that they can pedal up easily. So that's for some mountain bikers, not for others. It's not very important anymore. In my mind, what makes a good destination? Trails have to really appeal to everyone. and they also have to be well maintained. So you get to a lot of places that they build the trails, they put a lot of funding into building these great mountain bike trails, and then they leave them and they expect them to be good forever, but that's not going to happen realistically. So they need to be well maintained. They need to have a trail crew that are constantly updating and repairing the trails. Like I said, good bike shops, bike wash, that sounds fundamental, but there's a lot of places I've been to where you can't even wash your bike, which is just really annoying. And good bike hire. Accommodation, mountain biking really covers a huge range of people, from the sort of young punk who's riding downhill. They don't have much money to spend. They want to camp, they want to stay in a van, they want to get cheap accommodation. But then, as you'll hear later, there's also a lot of more affluent mountain bikers coming in. For instance, in Wales, we have people turning up to ride their bikes and they're turning up in Porsches with kind of an €8,000 mountain bike on the back, and that's a large part of mountain bikers turning up. Now, not necessarily in Porsches, but yeah. Maps sounds fundamental as well, but there's some massive destinations in the Alps that have terrible maps, and you get no idea that there's all these trails there. They've built these trails at a great expense, and then you don't even know they're there. And people like to look online. Obviously, people are always cruising the internet, and something to draw them in before they've even been there. Obviously, you can have 3D maps that I've seen in some places, which you look through the trail, you can see videos, and that really brings you there. Signs on trails, again, some French resorts in particular I've been to where you get out in the hills and then you're completely lost. It's just fundamental. So we're going to just look at a couple of places that I've been to. These are just some examples that I've picked at random, 3 locations. Bike Park Wales, firstly, this is just down the road from my house. This is my local, one of my local riding spots, and it's been a great success in Britain, and it gets a huge amount of publicity. It opened in 2013 in basically one of the poorest towns in Wales, a place that had a huge industry about 3 decades ago, and that's all been closed down. So it had absolutely no jobs at all. Basically partially publicly funded and partially privately funded. The main guy behind that place has visited a lot of destinations in Europe as well, so he's seen all the good things, all the bad things, and he's taken from his experiences. You pay to ride the trails there, so you can't just turn up and ride for free, but it's a small amount of money and people are happy to pay that because they have a great venue. You can get up the hill in a van if you want to, or you can pedal up. There's the option. There's a great cafe, there's a great bike shop, and there's quality bikes on hire, which creates a really good hub of mountain biking at the bottom of the hill. And they're now getting 65,000 visitors a year, which is a huge, where they're based, it's basically a centre for mountain biking in South Wales where we live. So there are a lot of different places you can go, but Bike Park Wales is really becoming one of the most popular. So in less than 2 years, they've kind of got these huge numbers coming in. They employ 30 people just in the shop and on the trails, which for the local area is massive. And hotels are popping up in town and smaller, cheaper accommodation options. So it's bringing a lot of money into the local area. Well, they've done right. Full-time trail team, so the tracks are always well maintained. People see them out. They publish videos about maintaining the trails. So you know that you're always going to get good trails, no holes, no mud, no water sitting on the trails. There's really a range for everybody, from families riding with their kids to professional downhill racers. You get everyone going there. The difference here is that the family get the same experience as the big downhill racers. So just because they're a family riding with their kids, it doesn't mean that they have to stick in the bottom of the valley on this really sort of boring trail. They can also ride up the mountain with all the mountain bikers, get the same experience, and they come down a really fun trail with everyone else. It's easier, obviously, and it's safe. It's aimed primarily at the modern bikes. That was a bit of a risk when they started up Bike Park Wales a couple of years ago, because bike park used to just mean going downhill using lifts to get up. But they really looked ahead and decided that the enduro bikes, which you just heard, are growing in popularity. That was where they were going to base their business. And that's one of the reasons that it's really benefited. Like I said, great bike shop, great cafe, really friendly staff. The mapping and the signposts on the trails are just perfect. You can't get lost, and you've already read about the trail before you get to it, so you're kind of excited before you already get there. And then above all, great branding. No one else has done it as well as Bike Park Wales, especially in the UK. They're constantly publishing videos. They're on their social media all the time, and they're appealing to the core market, so the core mountain bikers, which are the minority, and then the mainstream media as well. And they've really made mountain biking activity through their branding. It's no longer just a sport, so people are not scared to go there because they're not necessarily sporty people going there. They've really taken that away from it. Just as skiing has always appealed to people who don't necessarily do sport. Bike Park Wales is appealing to people who don't. Zona Zero in Spain. It's small at the moment, but I can really see this becoming one of the biggest sort of destinations for the enduro bikes. And it's the place that will really reflect this area the most out of anywhere that I've been, probably. They've basically got lots of small towns in an area, lots of small villages that have been abandoned. There's not very much work there either, but some local mountain bikers have started clearing out trails, just existing trails, hunting trails, old access trails. So they link villages and they link different locations, and that makes it a nice experience to go and ride there. And that's very similar to what you will have here as well, and all over Europe. So they haven't had to put loads of money into machine building, lots of new big bike park trails. They're just using what's already there. No ski style infrastructure. So there's no lifts, nothing like that. But for instance, a local taxi company upgraded their taxis to off-road minibuses, and they've bought bike trailers for them. So you can phone them up. They will deliver you to the top of a trail if you want, or you can pedal up there. And that means that there's no great expense to the town. If nobody's riding bikes, it doesn't mean that there's a lift running at great loss. And that's kind of how I see mountain biking going ahead. We don't need to go to ski resorts necessarily. We can go basically anywhere. We don't need to be in the mountains. Everywhere in town's really welcoming. They see the money that mountain biking is already starting to bring in, and you can go to any bar in town, any restaurant, and people will welcome you. And they're mapping, and their online presence is basic but really interesting. They've done it themselves with no funding whatsoever, but it really makes you want to go there. This is just one bike park. It's basic, it's not perfect in Austria. But they've used one hill, one lift to build their little bike park. They've promoted it well through affiliation with a bike company. There's only 5 trails, but there's something to appeal for everyone, and there's something you can ride in poor weather conditions as well. So for example, Morzine in France, which is one of the biggest gravity resorts at the moment, there's nothing you can ride when it's raining and without destroying your bike, destroying everything you're wearing. There's something to offer every level of accommodation. Great maps, great signing, and there's a proper hub at the bottom of the lift, bike shop, bike wash. There's practice tracks, pump tracks, food, basic, parking at the foot of the lift, and that creates a real hub for mountain biking at the bottom, and that's why the younger guys are coming there and kind of hanging out, riding. That's all. As I see it, it's the best time to get involved in mountain biking. It's really taking off. You don't need to invest hugely in mountain biking anymore to create a destination. You can use existing towns, existing trails, and mountain bikers will come there with their modern enduro bikes. That's all. Thank you.